Mount Gilboa, Gilboa, or Mount Saul, the first king of Israel. Hi guys, it's Veronica, and today we are visiting 1 Samuel chapter 31, and that is about King Saul, the first king of Israel, his death. You know, King Saul went into battle with the Philistines, and he was killed, him and his 3 sons, on Mount Gilboa. But King Saul, his sons were killed, and King Saul committed suicide, or by falling, he fell on his sword. And Mount Gilboa was cast by King David. On this mount, it's a mountain range. And you can see that I did a video sometime back about Mount Gilboa and the battle of Armageddon that will be fought at Jezreel Valley according to the New Testament in the book of Revelation. But today, our trip, we are traveling from Mount Gilboa to Beit Shan. And before the Google lights to you Beit Shen, no, it's not Beijing, it's Beit Shan. BEITSHEAN, Beit Shan. That is where, after King Saul and his sons were killed, their bodies were taken by the Philistines to Beit Shan. So from Mount Gilboa, we are heading to Beit Shan. And in this video, we'll be looking at 1 Samuel chapter 31. Now, the Philistines attacked Israel, and the men of Israel fled before them. Many were slaughtered on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. This is Mount Gilboa, guys. We are on Mount Gilboa. And by the slopes of Mount Gilboa, down there at Jezreel Valley, wow, what a panoramic view of Jezreel Valley, or the Valley of Megiddo. Wow. Many were slaughtered. The Philistines closed in on Saul and his sons, and they killed 3 of his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Melchishua. The fighting grew very fierce around Saul, and the Philistines archers caught up with him and wounded him severely. Saul groaned to his armor bearer, "Take your sword and kill me before these pagan Philistines come to run me through the taunt and torture me." This is the place. Look at the beautiful Jezreel Valley. Wow. Let me continue to read. Saul groaned to his armor bearer, "Take your sword and kill me before these pagan Philistines come and run me through and taunt and torture me." But his bearer was afraid and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When his armor bearer realized that Saul was dead, he fell on his own sword and died beside the king. So Saul, his 3 sons, his armor bearer, and his troops all died together the same day. Wow, what a defeat. When the Israelites on the other side of the Jezreel Valley, that is Jezreel Valley, and beyond Jordan, saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned their towns and fled. So the Philistines moved in and occupied the towns. Please note that. Then the Philistines moved in and occupied their towns. The next day, when the Philistines went out to strip the dead, they found the bodies of Saul and his 3 men and his 3 sons on Mount Gilboa. So they cut off Saul's head and stripped off his armor. Then they proclaimed the good news of Saul's death in their pagan temple, and the people throughout the land of Philistia. They praised the armor in the temple of Ashtoreth, and they fastened his body to the wall of the city of Beit Shen. So we are heading to Beit Shen from Mount Gilboa. But the people of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul. All their mighty warriors traveled through the night to Beth Shan and took the bodies of Saul and his son down from the wall. They brought them to Jabesh, where they burnt the bodies. They took their bones and buried them beneath the tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. Wow. See how David was. He said, "How did you dare to lift your heart and kill the Lord's anointed?" 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 14. Look at how dry the place is. David cast the mountain.
Okay, dito po tayo, dito.
Mount Gilead. Mount Gilead. That's the mountain that borders Israel and Jordan. So from Mount Gilboa, we are going to Beit Shan. Beit Shan. That is where the bodies of King Saul and his sons were hanged by the Philistines.
We are in the land territory of Issachar. So the word Beit Shen, the name of this place is, it means the house of rest or the house of tranquility. Beit Shen. This is one of the biggest archaeological well-preserved site in the land of Israel. The largest archaeological site way back in the time of the Romans. So you're going to see one of the biggest posts in other ruins during the Roman era here in Beit Shen. Alright, so in our left side, you can see now the Beit Shen. That's the Old Testament in Canaanite city. Beit Shen. That's it in front of us. Yeah, but below this mountain is the well-developed Roman city. They never developed or revived this mountain, but they developed the body of this place. That's why below this mountain is a beautiful Roman architecture.
Ayun doon, meron pa doon. Wala to. Wala ko ba ito lang?
Guys, welcome to Beit Shen. Beit Shen. Bet or Beit means house of Shan.
Alright, so before I give you a few background in this area, let's go back to that place, that area. Alright, so this is the original place. This one, it represents the mountain there. And we're gonna go up there, alright? So this one, that one, alright? Yes. So that is the original site of the Beit Shen or Beit Shen. It has many names. And this place is a stronghold of the Canaanites. And then later on, during the time of King Saul, it became the stronghold of the Philistines. And we can read a very tragic story that happened in the Bible, in the book of Samuel, concerning what happened to the life of the first king of Israel. So to find out, let me read to you the passage so that we will become biblical in our discussion or in our trip. So chapter 31 of 1 Samuel, it says here, "Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa." So from this, the Mount Gilboa is somewhere there, and we cannot see it, okay? There, the mountain that I told you when we are on the way. So the battle is there, and the battle is very fierce. And the Philistines followed hard upon Saul and upon his sons, and the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Melchishua, Saul's son. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer, "Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest this uncircumcised come and thrust me through." God made a covenant with the people of Israel. Whereas the uncircumcised, this is a term or a word of shaming the Gentiles. Basically, the Philistines. Because that means they don't have any relationship or covenant with God. It's like they are outcasts. It's like that they are rejected by God, and God chose this Israelites. So that's why you will encounter this term uncircumcised Philistines. Also, if you could remember the battle of David against Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, once again the term was mentioned there. This uncircumcised Philistines. Saul rose into power as the first king of Israel, but his ending is very tragic. It seems that God abandoned him. It's because there was some points in the life of Saul that he doesn't obey the Lord with all his heart. And God's punishment, his kingdom will not continue. His kingdom will be given to another person who deserved better, and that is David. And since then, God left him. God abandoned him. That's why this time, he never won against the Philistines. If God is fighting ahead of you, if God is your commander in your battle, your destiny is winning or victory.
Yes.
Now, God abandoned King Saul. God is not helping King Saul. And that's the reason why the Philistines overtook him. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa, and they cut off his head. Not only they were defeated, not only all the people died, the Israelites, but most tragically, they cut off, they beheaded Saul, the first king of Israel, and his sons. And then what they did? And stripped off his armor and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols and among the people. That's very important. You see, the strongholds of the Philistines is Beit Shemesh, Ekron, Gaza, and the other side there in the lower part of Judea until Tel Aviv. And they inform all their cities that the king of Israel was defeated. And most of all, they put in the houses of their gods. And what does it stands for? That means their God, the God of the Canaanites, is more mightier or powerful than the God of Israel. That's the kind of message that they are sending to the people of Philistines. And then let's continue. Verse 10. Okay. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth or Asherah in the other version. And they fastened his body to the wall of Beit Shen. So that's it. So before, in the time of King Saul, that's only the city. This is nothing. Okay. During the Old Testament time, all these things that you can see, this is nothing. So there, it has a wall before, and somewhere there, the body of King Saul and his sons was hung by the Philistines. And then let's continue. And when the inhabitants of Jabes Gilead heard of that which the Philistines had done to Saul, what happened? So the Gilead is there, the mountain that you will see on the other side of Jordan River, the huge mountains there. So they heard what happened to King Saul, and what they did, listen to this in verse 12. And all the valiant men arose and went all night. All night. So from there, they traveled going here in Beit Shen. And what they did? And took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Beit Shen and came back. They go back there in Jabes and burnt them there. And then what? And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabes and fasted 7 days. You see, another tragic part in the life of King Saul. He was born in the land of Benjamin, very close to Jerusalem. That's a long way from here in Beit Shen. But what happened? On his death, very tragic. So he was brought to Gilead, never returned in the place he was born. And we don't know what happened then concerning the bones of Saul and his sons. So he was buried away from his home. And that's a sad story. So later on the Assyrians came and they conquered northern Israel. And then later on, the Babylonians rose into power, and they conquered the land of Israel, and also they conquered Jerusalem. And after the Babylonians came the Persian Empire, and then there was some development in Jerusalem. After Persians, the Hasmoneans, fast forward tayo, after Hasmoneans came the Greeks, and after the Greeks came the Roman Empire, and during the Roman Empire, they revived the city of Beit Shen, but they abandoned the place, the original site, and they start making the developments around the valley of the Beit Shen. Okay, so this is the thing that you can see. That's why you have Colosseo, and this is for the Roman, settlement of the people in those days. So, and these things, most of this, especially this one and there, we could still see these things there. All right? Now, I cannot discuss everything to you because it will take more time. But if you have time, try to search in Google or in Wikipedia. And last of all, finally, final information. This place in the New Testament, you cannot find the word Beit Shen in the New Testament, but you can find the word Siktian, and it was called Siktopolis in the New Testament time. And then it belongs to a league of cities during the time of the Romans that is called Decapolis, which means polis city and Deca is 10. So there is a collaboration of 10 Roman cities in the Promised Land or in the land of Israel, and Beit Shen is one of the Decapolis. And the Lord Jesus Christ, according to the biblical narratives, you have to search the word Decapolis in the New Testament. The Lord Jesus Christ keeps on traveling in Decapolis. That means he went to the 10 major Roman cities during his time. That's why we can say one time the Lord Jesus Christ was in this famous city of Beit Shen.
Wow.
So that's a little trivia that you need to learn, that you need to know, because if you don't know the names, the places, you will never find out that Christ was in this place.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank
so now,
you.
Since I could not discuss everything to you, I am giving you time to explore this magnificent, wonderful, awesome, the largest archaeological site in the land of Israel. Welcome to Beit Shen. The time is 11:14. We can spend 1 hour. Those who would like to go up in the mountain, can go up. If you don't like, that's fine. Go back in the bus, we can go. All right?
Sedopori. Sedopoli. The goddess of fortune and the city's patron goddess. Here you can listen to the
Shalom and welcome to the Beit Shen National Park. We are located at the ancient Roman theater. Theater was originally developed by the Greeks in Athens during the 6th century BCE. The Romans added to the Greek tragedies and comedies lighter performances like vaudeville-style shows as well as pantomimes and farces. The building of this theater began during the 1st century, reaching its present size by the end of the 2nd century. Entrances to the theater were through roof passages made out of basalt stone called in Latin vomitoria. This name reminds us of the English verb to vomit, and actually these passages were meant to vomit the crowd out of the theater at the end of the show. From the vomitorium we enter the central part of the theater, the seating area called cavea. In front of us is the lower block of seats, preserved in its entirety, made of beautiful white stones. Above us are the second block of seats, with only its basalt core preserved. Its benches were taken to be used at other locations after the theater was destroyed in an earthquake in the 8th century. The lower block was buried for years under the ruins, and that is how it was preserved.
I want us to hike to that hill. That is where the bodies of King Saul and his sons were hanged.
לכך שחזיתות מבני הציבור פונות אל רחובות הכניסה לעיר, כך שאורח שהגיע אליה יכול היה לנקות אותם בקלות ולצאת העיר ולא בעיה.
Let's go up. Later we'll go there.
רחוב פלטי שלפנינו מוביל מהתל עד לתיאטרון לאורך 150 מטרים. הרחוב רוצף בלוחות בזלת ומגבהה במרכזו, כך שמי הגשמים נוקזו את צידי הרחוב ומשם אל תעלות המפרץ שהותקנו מתחת לרחוב. מהרחוב בתחילת הנוצרים ישנה בצידו המערבי של הרחוב צד מקורה את הציבור. בתחילת דרך המערבים נמצאת הרחוב. של הרחוב נמצא חובת החנויות.
That is a nice view, yeah? Wow, there's water. You see? Oh.
Может быть, клевер. Там снегу это маленький загрузчик, но уже может клевер, может бульвар. Короче, с бульваром доступен. Вот только мы дали задание. Никакого другого посетителя то есть вся история, мы говорим сегодня почти 8,5 тысяч лет этого города заканчивается в 9-м, ну, начале 10 века. Все. Когда Федерик попался, он сказал, я вообще не знаю, чего он ездит. Он говорит, тут больше нет. Ипподром, вон, у нас бегает. Ты не корабля, не откажи. Отдай мне, что
We are heading up. Wow, it's steep than I thought. Wow. Woof. Oh my God. Wow. Wow, I'm tired. Oh my goodness. Those are the mountain of Gilead. Mount of Gilead. Ooh. Isale. Huh? Wow. You can't understand why we are partying unless you you join us. Wow, but it's so beautiful from here. How many steps?
I don't know.
Wow, and we are not yet. We are. Oh, whoop! Yo, that was amazing. Yeah, we feel the same.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow. Grabe. Hindi lang mainit. Nanagol ko yung hininga ko. Tapos pag nandito ka, breathtaking na lang. Tignan mo yung ano. Gawa ng Diyos. Grabe. Amazing. Ayun na may lilom, oh. Oh, may lilom ka pa tayo, bababa. Aba, may pahayon sa kabayan.
Wow. We are still on the way. We are not yet done. Wow. So this was the old city. Wow. Where the bodies of Saul and his sons were hanged. Guys, look at the mountains of Gilead. Ledges, mountains of Gilead. Wow, what a view! Wow, what a view of Mount of Gilead. So what's here? Wow, these are the remains of the walls of a massive fortress from the time of King David and King Solomon, destroyed in a raging fire. Elat. This is Elat. I did a video, I uploaded a video about Elat. Elat. Kadesh Barnea, below Beersheba. And very soon I'll go to Kadesh Barnea. I'll do a video about it. Remember, this is Edom. I did a video about, what was this video about? The tabernacle. We started the journey from Edom. All this area was the area of Edomites, including the place that we went to to do the video about the tabernacle more. My shade is disturbing me because it's almost noontime, so my shade is with me. I did about Shiloh. I did this one for Shechem. I have to do in Samaria. We are here at Beit Shan. Beth Shan, you remember I did a video about picking, what were they, cherries at the Quran. It was a Egyptian governor's house. Wow. Wow, look at that majestic view. In Hebrew, you say, is enough. What a view! Yes. היה כיף, נכון? וואו.
ישראל הכי כיף.
נכון, ישראל הכי כיף. נכון. מקניה.
קניה, הייתי בקניה.
מתי?
אבא שלי.
באמת?
הבת שלי.
באמת?
כן, ועשו לה צמות.
וואו. בספארי? ספארי?
ספארי, והיה יופי.
כן, כן. גם נשים טובים שם, נכון? נכון. לא, איך, זה לא טוב. באמת? תודה. ורוניקה. תודה. תודה. Wow, so guys, we are talking about where I come from. Yes. And we're talking about the beauty of Israel and how the view is beautiful.
With the beautiful person, my
With a beautiful photographer, beautiful. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you so much. I'll see you again in a few days time. Shalom, shalom, and I love you. איזה מים? נכון, יש מים פה.
נכון.
כן.
הנה,
איפה?
הנה,
איפה זה?
הנה.
איפה?
גם
איפה?
קודם,
איפה?
הנה, הצינור, זה מים.
אה!
הנה פה.
נכון, הנה.
כן,
I was trying to wonder, איפה מים?
כן, הנה.
איזה כיף.
איזה יופי.
Back to where we started. From here we came.